Lorraine Hurley, and I am a coach. I'm a founder of Empower Triathlon Training Services. I'm also a speech and language pathologist. A lot of people assume that I've been an athlete my whole life. I was not. I had an inkling that I was going to be a good runner. When I was 12, I could beat all the girls and all but one of the boys. And then we had this, probably a mile sprint like you do in middle school. And the coach of the track team, it got his attention. He said, "Wow, you're really fast." But I was having an asthma attack, and I didn't know that's what it was. All I knew is that I couldn't breathe. I was terrified. I had to put my head between my legs. Nobody said to me, "That's asthma. You can go to the doctor and get something to treat it." I just thought, I never want to feel like this again. So he had asked me to come out for the track team, and I didn't do it. I spent my high school years working and studying. I got out a year early. Things were tough at home. We needed a lot of money, so there wasn't much. And so I got out quick. And college, I just survived. I'm really lucky I survived, actually. I was not healthy in college. Got married, started a family, and became a speech and language pathologist. And then when I was in my early 30s, I realized that I had my family disease of alcoholism. I was drinking way too much, and I couldn't control it. So the same year that I got divorced, I got sober, and my lifestyle got a lot healthier. And so I started hanging out with healthy people. My mindset got healthier. My activities got healthier. My hobbies and my interests got healthier little by little. I started camping. I started kayaking. But I still thought I couldn't run because of that asthma. And then in the late 90s, my sister Alicia was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And I spent some time going back and forth between Rhode Island and New Jersey, where she was, and it was an emotional time, and I started realizing that if I didn't get healthy, what would happen if I got cancer? I had no reserve. I was 40 pounds heavier. I was a couch potato. And that same summer, I saw a 70-year-old man running shirtless through my town. And he looked like he was going to keep on running. And that really made an impression on me. I thought, I can't do that. I'm not healthy enough to do that. And here's this guy who's 40 years older than me, and he's doing this amazing thing. And that same summer, I was kayaking in the middle of Narragansett Bay, and there was a woman swimming in the middle of the bay. And my first thought was, "You must have fallen out of a boat. Are you okay?" And she said, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm training for an Ironman." So I started running actually in a cemetery across the street from my house. I started a quarter mile, and I realized if I ran slowly enough, my asthma wouldn't kick in. And then I got to a half a mile, and by the end of the summer, I was at 2 miles. And I didn't know anybody who did anything athletic, so I thought that was really cool. 2 miles was a big accomplishment for me. And the next year, I did the same thing. I would run 2 miles. And then I met my husband, Peter. He wasn't my husband at the time. I guess you could say that about anybody. He wasn't my husband when I met him. And he was getting over quadruple bypass surgery. So he was cycling and doing a lot of healthy things. And he said that he had asthma, but he took Singulair. And that was really life-changing. So on the Singulair, I was able to get from 2 miles up to 5 miles, and I was able to go a little faster. And I started biking. I had a bike from my sister that I had borrowed, and but I still wasn't doing triathlon. And then Peter took on American Bicycle Group down in Tennessee. We lived in Rhode Island. And he started doing triathlons. And I tried swimming. I swam to the end of the pool, and I was completely out of breath. I didn't know anything about pacing, and I thought, how could I keep this up? I couldn't possibly keep it up. But he started competing. I watched what he was doing, and I met all the people in the Chattanooga Tri Club. We got married. I moved down here, and there was a swim at the dam, which is right across the way, every Monday evening, and I learned how to swim in open water and not panic. And I still had some trouble because I have a combination of things: allergies, asthma, Turns out acid reflux was contributing. And then I have something called vocal cord dysfunction, which is that if anything hits the back of my vocal cords, my throat, my vocal cords seize up. And it's really hard to get them loose again. And it seems like an asthma attack, but I've learned to breathe my way through that. But often I felt like, well, I can do this, but I can't do that. I can do this, but you don't understand, I can't do that. And I still will have to say to my coaches, I need a little bit more breathing time, or I need to use my inhaler here. But I've learned to just get over those fears one by one. So I started doing triathlons, and Peter was always one step ahead of me. He would do an Olympic, I was at sprints, then I would do an Olympic, he would do a half, and then I would do a half, he would do a full. And it wasn't until, I would say, I'd been doing it for maybe 3 years, that I realized that I really had to own it as my own sport. I couldn't just do it as something that I like to do with my husband so we could train together, because, you know, in the last few miles of any race, you have to have your own why. You have to know why you're out there. And you can't just say, I'm doing it for so-and-so, because then you just get mad at so-and-so. Say, damn it, what am I doing this for? This hurts, I'm tired, I hate this. So I was a little bit of a brat. In the first few years, I was all over the place. I wanted to do it, then I didn't want to do it. So I finally asked myself, if it were just me, would I want to do triathlon? And I said, yeah, I would definitely want to do triathlon. I'd want to be involved with the club. I'd want to do all these things. And then it all changed, and I became totally obsessed with triathlon, to the point that I was told that I talked about 3 subjects: my training, my diet, and the weather. And then I would just rotate the 3. That still may be true. I started reading books on triathlon, and eventually I had an opportunity to become a coach. There was a lapse in my employment as a speech pathologist, which had never happened to me before. And I thought it was going to be a terrible experience. I thought it was the worst news in the world that my contract wasn't renewed. And it turned out to be the best. So I got trained, I got certified as a coach, and as soon as I was certified, I got calls to say, do you want to come back and be a speech pathologist part-time, better job, closer to home? So I learned that, you know, just see what God has in mind, because sometimes what seems like really bad news is actually really good news. And now I just love it. So I have my athletes, I have my friends, I have my own training, and something that I share with the people I love. It means a lot. I've never raced at Kona before, but I've been there many, 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 many times with American Bicycle Group, which makes Quintana route bicycles. And so, as you know, we sponsor large parts of that race over the years. So I probably spent 8 Octobers in Kona, and for many of those I was training for a November marathon or a November full Ironman. So I have spent 106 miles on the Queen K, and I have done 20-mile runs on Elite E, and I can't count how many times I've run on Elite E Drive, but I've never done it as an athlete. So it's even giving me goosebumps now. I always thought of it, but I didn't know if I'd be ready for it. And then now's the time. I get to go. And I've never been all the way to Hawaii, which is really cool. I've been to Waikoloa, which is about halfway. I've gone back and forth between there, but I've never been all the way to Hawaii. So that's going to be really cool. I've seen the swim. I've been on the dock. I've seen different kinds of starts. And now I'll be in the water. And I'll be running out and through those showers like the people on the videos that I've been watching all these years. It's pretty cool. I have had the experience of a women's race before, not exclusively women, in that the 70.3 World Championship is divided into different days. So the men are in town, but they're racing on a different day. And that was actually a really cool experience. Women are very supportive. They're competitive. We still leapfrog each other, but you know, they're so supportive, it's almost funny. Like, everybody calls out that there's a car back. Everybody calls out that there's a pothole. You know, we're all taking care of each other. And I noticed that as much as I loved racing with men, when I raced with women, nobody cut me off. I definitely didn't have the experience of somebody jumping in front of me, slowing down 5 miles per hour, sitting up and drinking a bottle just to slow me down. That never happened. There were no huge pelotons where you have to risk getting a blocking penalty because just to pull out and see how many of these people are riding illegally together that I would have to pass. But I think it'll be a really supportive environment. There is a little part of me that's slightly sad just because as our mental skills, we envision what our race is gonna be like. And I've gone to Kona many times and seen the pros, and I know who all the pros are, the men and the women. And so I had always imagined it that way. But I've read a million books on triathlon, and that's the story of triathlon. The very first athletes were always saying, it's never going to be the same. Now they have cameras, it's not going to be the same. Now they moved it to the Big Island because it wasn't even on the same island. It'll never be the same. They moved the course, it used to be at a different hotel. So even in the years that I've been watching, they went from mass starts to different kinds of swim starts. And you just got to roll with it. I mean, that's what Ironman is all about. You can't say, oh, it's raining, I'm not gonna race, or, oh, it's only women, this is terrible. And I've been reading a book by Matt Fitzgerald, who's a tri coach, and he says that the people who overcome adversity, and he did this by interviewing people who had overcome adversity, they accept reality as it is quickly. They embrace it, and then they make decisions accordingly. So there's really no sense in saying, oh, it could be this and it could be that. You just go with it and move on. Yeah, but it'll be a nice celebration of women, and the female pros will get to be the first across the line, and that's really something. I mean, imagine breaking a world record and also being told you're 15th because there are 15 people ahead of you. I mean, that's just, you know, the two don't really go together. So I'm really happy for the female pros that they will be right up there. Nobody else in the race.